Welcome back, everyone, and welcome, Wally.
Hi, glad to be here.
Thanks so much for joining us today, and I am looking forward to this one. I mean, you always hear sort of rumors about quirky scholarships, and then you're like, well, that can't really be true. And then sometimes they are. Sometimes
Hey,
they really.
exactly. There's some really interesting ones out there that you hear and you think that this can't be real, and
Hmm.
and indeed they are. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I think I've heard that there's actually, well, we know that there's thousands of scholarships. So
thousands.
let's talk though about I know people think a lot of them are undiscovered, but I think you can find a lot of them online at this point too, right?
Absolutely. There are several sites that give access to many of these, whether they're quirky or whether they're run of the mill. So
Mm.
that's part of what I'm going to mention. Um, But since we're talking about quirky, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
We heard this has been like this mythological left-handed scholarship, and honestly, and I just did a web search a few minutes ago. There are probably about a dozen of those that are focused on southpaws. You know, whether they're from different schools or from different regions or anything like that. And many of these things are worth a lot of money. So it's really good for people to check up on it, really good to investigate and to go depth, especially if you're looking to fill those financial gaps. We'll talk a little bit more about the search in a second, but some of the really interesting ones that I came across was this first one I love. So Duck brand duct tape,
Hmm.
DUCK brand duct tape offers a stuck at prom scholarships. Any thought about what that might be?
Oh, wait. I think I've heard of this. If you have to make a prom dress out of duct tape, right?
You've got to make a prom dress and or a tux
Hmm.
out of their brand duct tape. Obviously, high resolution photos come into play. Well, probably branding comes into play, but this is a really out there scholarship that is so interesting. And here's the cool thing. Obviously, listen, it is limited, but the winner for both the gown and the tux, so separate winners, get 10 grand.
Wow.
10
So
grand.
it's not nothing. This is not a little $500. I mean, $500 is $500, but 10 grand.
10 grand to make a duct tape piece of clothing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And now they do have some runners up that are awarded $500
Hmm.
scholarships. But if you are artsy and if you're thinking about doing something that's a little bit out there, and this may have been in your mind, what the heck?
Hmm.
Hey, brand it up and let's see what you can get. 10 grand might be worth it for you to check out.
Hmm. Hey,
Now,
listen, it could be part of your art portfolio potentially, you know?
absolutely. Absolutely. So another one that I wanted to mention, and the name is kind of funny, but when you think about it, it's really not. It's called the Asparagus Club Scholarship.
Hmm.
And this is a cool one because the National Grocers Association awards 10 scholarships of 2 grand per semester for 2 years.
Hmm.
So $8,000 over 2 years, that's not a bad thing, really. Uh, and I was going to mention this later, but we can talk about it now. Most private scholarships are non-recurring, meaning they're
Hmm.
only good for that one period. So to get guaranteed funding into a second year is a really nice thing. But for these kids, they've got to be earning a degree in business, food management, or other relevant courses, leading it to a career in the grocery industry. I don't know
Hmm.
how many people think about their career or future going into the grocery industry. However, if you've got family members that are brought up in it, or you've got a family, although these are, few and far between now, family grocery store, anything like that, something that might be out there for you.
Well, or I could see someone who, started out of high school working at a grocery store, likes the industry. People are telling him he or she have room to move up, and this
Sure.
is, go to college and, continue working maybe, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there again, it sounds odd, but when it comes down to it, not necessarily odd, more mainstream than you would think. The key of it is to dig. Private scholarship searches are not easy. So
Hmm.
moving on to the next one, we've got the Illinois Organization of Mothers of Twins Club. And that's self-explanatory. Okay. There is an actual group in Illinois that is the Illinois Organization of Mothers of Twins Clubs, and they give out scholarships to both mothers of multiples and
Mm-hmm.
children that are multiples. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's a two stage area of award there. How many moms are going back to school? Well, that's kind of to be determined, but interesting scholarship there. Not really lucrative, $250 to the parents, $150 to the kids, but since we're talking about quirky scholarship, what the heck? Sounds like something that was real good.
Yeah.
The last one is the oddest one that I could find out. This is called the Core Memorial Scholarship. And this is really, really out there. Um, think about Star Trek. Think about Spock. Okay. The Klingon Language Council awards $500 scholarships to students who excel at implementing creative uses for the language of Klingon.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
There- I didn't realize that there was such a depth of development and investigation into Klingon.
You obviously haven't been watching the Big Bang Theory reruns, Wally.
Yeah, but there again, I think one of the most important things about this is that there's scholarships out there that fit so many different people that people don't know what to look for or how to look for.
Hmm.
And that just shows that there may be stuff that fits everyone. You've just got to be persistent and
Hmm.
directed to search.
Hmm.
So
I've told students even to, like, find local charitable organizations and reach out to them. Maybe they have something, and they're not often, those smaller organizations are not as good at advertising stuff. It's just not their priority. They don't have someone who does marketing. But if you reach out to them and they have $500, you might be a top priority to get that.
absolutely. And when we have conversations with families to talk about schools, private scholarships are one of the primary sources of funding college.
Hmm.
Um, the first place that we tell families to look is our local resources.
Hmm.
If only because local or regional resources, you're probably going to have a lower count of applicants, which
Hmm.
just off the bat improves your odds from there. Okay.
Hmm.
If you know someone who's associated with any of those groups, be it, as you mentioned, a local benevolent society or a church, or mom and dad may be in a professional networking group, or you may have the relative or parents, you may have the coworker who participated in everything. There's a pretty decent likelihood that one of those groups is going to offer something in scholarship. So
Hmm.
this is a social outreach kind of thing with regard to this is, hey, I understand that you work with this group and I understand that they've got this scholarship. Is there anything that you could help me with regard to that?
Hmm.
Whether it's giving me a recommendation or even an informal referral. Anything that you can help me with, I'd be most appreciative. So
Hmm.
so yeah, local is best. And also, as you go through many towns, you'll see the signs up for the Lions Club and the Rotary Club and the Kiwanis Club and all of these. And I bet if I went and checked right now, all of those groups have, in one form or another, scholarships to give, whether they're state or local or national. Chances are there's money associated with those. And so
Hmm.
use all of the resources that you've got, and there again realize that local increases odds because
Hmm.
once you go into a national search, you're competing against
Hmm.
thousands of other people, and so the odds there are just not great.
Hmm.
If you're really needing the money, focus on where the odds are going to be better for you.
Exactly. Yeah, I was a high school counselor, and I worked at a school in Southern California, and you know, we had students. I mean, I always encourage students to apply to these small private scholarships because they might literally only have 20 people applying.
Sure. Exactly.
So your odds are so much better than for the Coca-Cola scholarship,
Yeah,
where, yeah, it's
exactly.
a lot of money, but your chances
Perfect.
of getting something is almost nothing.
There is a $10,000 no essay scholarship, national scholarship.
Hmm.
Imagine how many people are applying for that. That's like the lotto that was at $1 billion or whatever last
Hmm.
year. I
Yeah.
mean, the odds of that are just absolutely ridiculous. And so
Yeah.
you've got to be strategic and targeted with the stuff like this. So since we're talking about national search as well, there are a couple of sites that we generally refer families to. One
Hmm.
of them has a really odd name. It's Going, like Going,
Hmm.
and Merry, like Merry Christmas, Merry,
Hmm.
goingmerry.com. Um, the other one is simple. It's scholarships.com, scholarship with an S on the end.com. And for both of these cases, we recommend families do both reactive and proactive searches. Proactive by looking for scholarships such as this Asparagus Club scholarship or this Klingon scholarship that fits who you are. Are you redheaded? Are you left-handed? Are you studying in a certain thing? Ethnicity might come into play.
Hmm.
Need in many cases might come into play. So there may be some expression that you've got to give regarding income and such like that. Reactive, on the other hand, is that creating a profile with the scholarship search site and allowing the scholarship site to ostensibly match you with scholarships that fit you. The key there is that you've really got to be diligent in reviewing the requirements of that scholarship to make sure that you fit the requirements of it. If they've got 5 requirements and you only fill 3 and it's a national scholarship, you may be wasting your time in order to do that.
Yeah.
Or on the counter of that is that if the award is $500 and they're asking you for 3 letters of recommendation and 2 essays, again, hey, any money is good money. Any free money is better money. But there may be better options for you that may provide you with better odds
Hmm.
and a better fit for that individual scholarship. So
Yeah.
that's where it gets a little bit dicey.
Yeah. So Wally, unfortunately, I have to close this off now. We got to end the segment. But thank you so much. It was so interesting to hear about all this. And I think your advice is really good. Proactive and reactive.
And local.
And local. Very important.
All righty.
Absolutely. All right. So everyone will be doing a repeat for our Thanksgiving show, but for the December 1st show, Elizabeth Heaton will be starting our new series on niche colleges with St. John's of Maryland and Santa Fe. And that's a great books college, really interesting place. And then answering listener questions with our regular finance contributor, Shannon Vasconcelos. And finally, I want to remind you that you don't have to listen to our shows live. Every show is accessible 24/7 on the Voice America website. And you can also download every show for free on iTunes. Please rate us, by the way, so more people can find us. And don't forget, we're here every Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.